Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Lakshmi MT, Assistant Professor, Department of Radio Diagnosis, Oxford Medical College. Today's topic is role of imaging in gynecological cancers. Coming to different imaging modalities, radiography, ultrasonography, tomography or CT, MRI or magnetic resonance imaging, PET-CT, that is positron emission tomography with computed tomography. What all this imaging or radiological investigation can define in a case of gynecological cancers? First, most important thing is it can tell us about the site of the tumor, whether the tumor or cancer is arising from the uterus, cervix, ovaries, or adnexa. Second point is it can tell about the exact size of the lesion or tumor, whether it is like in millimeters, centimeters, or like that. Third point is it can define about the shape of the tumor, whether it is round, oval, or irregular shape. It can also tell us about the margins of the tumor, whether it's regular smooth margins, lobulated margins, or irregular spiculated margins. The regular smooth margins will go in favor of benign tumors, and lobulated tumors are almost like benign tumors, whereas irregular speculated margins will go in favor of malignant tumors. It can also tell us about the internal characteristics of the tumor, whether it's completely solid or cystic or solid cystic, whether it is having internal necrosis, septations, calcifications, or fat. It can also define about the local invasion into adjacent structures like urinary bladder, small and large bowel, ureters, pelvic side walls, and muscles. Imaging can also define the relation of the tumor to the surrounding structures, like whether it is touching the adjacent lesion or invading the adjacent organ, or it's like how far it is from the adjacent organ. It can also tell about the regional and para-aortic lymph nodes, that is commonly metastasis, lymphatic metastasis. It can also tell about the metastatic lesions of the uh, tumor, that is to the liver, lung, or vertebral bodies. Imaging can also define about the peritoneal spread of the primary tumor, that is omental deposits or peritoneal deposits, also called as pseudomyxoma peritoneum. This imaging acts as a preoperative roadmap for the gynecologist and for the radiotherapist, like where exactly the tumor is located and where they have to open, and for the radiotherapy people where they have to target the beam of radiotherapy x-rays. It can also define in case of treatment response and recurrent disease. For example, patient has a tumor, he has undergone a treatment in the form of medical or conservative or surgical treatment. After post-operative treatment, whether the tumor is responding to the treatment, or it's like after the post-operative this one, whether it is recurred, it can also define. Coming to first imaging modality, that is radiography. It's most useful in case of calcified tumors, teratomas, and when the tumors are causing small bowel obstruction or large bowel obstruction. And sometimes that ovarian tumors will be very big, and it will cause displacement of the bowel loops. This also can be appreciated using the radiographs. Coming to disadvantages, it has limited role in definition of the tumor and diagnosis of the tumor, and it provides only 2D information. Coming to pelvic x-ray, AP x-ray of the pelvis, showing multiple tooth-like lesions in the right side of the pelvis, and just adjacent to it towards the midline you can also see fat density. Both this tooth plus fat will go in favor of benign teratoma, that is mature teratoma of the ovary. In this case, this mature teratoma is arising from the right ovary. AP X-ray of the pelvis showing amorphous calcification in the midline pelvis. This is a case of ovarian fibroma with calcifications. There is one more benign tumor which can cause similar appearance, that is calcified leiomyoma, that is calcified fibroid. So any amorphous calcification or calcified mass within the pelvis will go in favor of ovarian fibroma or calcified fibroid. Coming to ultrasonography, this is the screening investigation for most of the gynecological malignancies. It's relatively inexpensive, it's non-invasive in nature, there is no radiation exposure, it's widely available and very portable. It can be done in bedside also. The Doppler investigation of the ultrasound can be used to assess the vascularity of the tumor. Only disadvantage is it has limited field of view. This is a case of carcinoma cervix. This is a case presented to our hospital with case history of pervaginal bleeding since 3 months. 45 years old lady. On ultrasound, you are seeing sagittal scan of the transabdominal ultrasound of the uterus and cervix. The cervix is very bulky and there is ill-defined irregular hypoechoic lesion in the posterior and anterior lip of the cervix. On Doppler scan, there is increased vascularity within the lesion. This is the case of carcinoma cervix, predominantly involving the anterior and posterior lips. This is a case of leiomyosarcoma showing sagittal and transabdominal images of the uterus, showing well-defined heterogeneous mass with having both solid and cystic areas. This cystic areas represents necrotic areas. This is a case of endometrial carcinoma. First image shows transabdominal ultrasound sagittal view showing bulky uterus with distended endometrial cavity with irregular mass. This is a case of endometrial carcinoma. Second image shows sagittal view of the uterus transvaginal scan showing irregular polypoidal lesions in the superior endometrial cavity with the endometrial fluid. It's a case of endometrial carcinoma. This is a case of simple ovarian cyst, transvaginal view of the ovarian cyst showing well-defined thin-walled large cyst. It's almost 7 cm in diameter. It shows no internal septations, no mural nodules, and no wall calcifications. It's a case of simple ovarian cyst. This is a case of complex ovarian cyst. Transvaginal ultrasound scan of the ovary showing complex cyst arising from the left ovary, showing thick wall lesion with debris in the cyst and solid nodule in the posterior wall. And the solid nodule on Doppler study shows vascularity. The red images within the nodule shows vascularity. It's a case of complex ovarian cyst or mucinous cyst adenocarcinoma. This one more complex ovarian cyst showing multiloculated cystic lesion with internal echoes, and you can also see solid nodules in the center. This is a case of mucinous cyst adenocarcinoma of the ovary. Coming to next imaging modality, that is computed tomography. It provides multiplanar reconstruction, that is you can acquire the scans in axial planes and you can reconstruct the image in sagittal and coronal planes and evaluate the lesion. You can also reconstruct the image in the oblique sagittal, oblique transverse planes also. As compared to MRI, it can be used in claustrophobics, with pacemakers, with ferromagnetic implants. There is no contraindication for these cases. It is lesser cost and more readily available than the MRI scan. It is mostly most useful in case of calcified lesions and lesions showing bone metastasis. The scan is very quick and painless. Coming to disadvantages, there is lot of radiation exposure to the patient. It is contraindicated in the pregnant women due to radiation exposure again. And there is less soft tissue resolution as compared to the MRI scans. This is the axial contrast enhanced CT image of the pelvis showing large enhancing lesion in the pelvis, midline pelvis with lobulated margins. The white arrowheads show hypodense areas, ill-defined hypodense areas suggestive of necrosis. The long arrows shows enhancing fibrovascular septa within the lesion. And in either side, in right iliac fossa and left iliac fossa, you are seeing free fluid. This represents ascites. This large midline lesion with septations, enhancing septations, and solid enhancing areas with central necrosis represents dysgerminoma of the ovary. This is the counterpart of seminoma of testis in males. This dysgerminoma of ovary in females. Okay. This is the axial sections of the contrast enhanced CT. First image at the level of liver, second image is at the level of upper pole of kidneys, and third image is at the level of the pelvis. First image shows black arrows, subcapsular hypodensity in the liver, showing subcapsular peritoneal deposits. It's also called pseudomyxoma peritonei or peritoneal implants. In white arrows shows multiple hypodense lesions in the lesser sac. Second image shows multiple hypodense lesions with calcifications in the gastrosplenic ligament and in the peritoneal cavity, and you can also see ascites. Third image shows there are two well-defined complex cystic lesions in the bilateral adnex or in bilateral ovaries. Both of these lesions shows thick walls and enhancing mural nodules in anteriorly. This is a case of bilateral serous cystadenocarcinoma with peritoneal deposits, peritoneal implants, also called as pseudomyxoma peritonei. Coming to role of magnetic resonance imaging, also called as MRI. This offers best soft tissue resolution. It's widely used for adnexal lesions and uterine masses. Most useful sequence is T2 weighted imaging. The contrast used is gadolinium. We can also do dynamic contrast enhancement. Coming to disadvantages, it's very costlier compared to ultrasound, X-rays and CT. It takes longer time. It's contraindicated in claustrophobics, pacemakers, cochlear implants and orthopedic implants. There are few primary signs and secondary signs in MRI suggestive of ovarian malignancy. What are the primary signs? Any ovarian mass more than 5 centimeters. And if the ovarian masses are bilateral, present in both ovaries. If the lesion shows papillary projections or vegetations. Or cystic lesion with irregular thickening of the wall or septal thickness more than 3 mm. Partially cystic and partially solid masses. Predominantly solid mass or necrosis within a solid mass. All these features favor malignancy. These are the primary MRI features. Coming to secondary MRI features favoring malignancy, if there is ascites, if there is peritoneal disease, mesenteric disease or omental disease. The case which I showed you, serous cystadenocarcinoma, peritoneal deposits, that is pseudomyxoma peritonei. If that feature is there, definitely you have to look for underlying malignancy in the ovaries. If there are multiple enlarged lymph nodes, that is lymphadenopathy. These are the secondary imaging features of the malignancy. This is a case of carcinoma cervix. Sagittal MRI, T2 weighted MRI image showing uterus and cervix. You can also see rectum and sacrum posteriorly and urinary bladder anteriorly and pubic bone anteriorly. You can see there is distension of endometrial cavity and increased endometrial fluid due to obstruction by the large hyperintense mass in the cervix. You can see ill-defined hyperintense mass involving the cervix, and more anterior-inferiorly it is extending and involving the vaginal wall and also the posterior wall of the uterus, posterior wall of the urinary bladder. The black arrowhead shows invasion into the urinary bladder wall and the lumen. It is completely blocking the cervical canal and causing accumulation of endometrial fluid within the endometrial canal. This is a case of carcinoma cervix. Coming to Krukenberg's tumors. Krukenberg's tumors are not primary tumors of the ovary. These are like secondary deposits arising from the gastric primary. Any gastric primary can metastasize into bilateral ovaries. So all these metastatic deposits will cause enlargement and malignant features in the bilateral ovaries. This is called Krukenberg tumor. First image shows T2 weighted axial MRI showing two well-defined masses in bilateral adnexa. One is anterior and one is posterior lateral and left on the left side. The arrowheads show hypointense solid areas and hypointense capsule. Second image shows coronal post-contrast T1 fat saturated sequence showing large well-defined mass in the midline pelvis with enhancing septations and non-enhancing uh, cystic areas, and also you can see capsular enhancement peripherally. This is a case of dysgerminoma. Again, the same case what I showed in the CT. First image is the T2 weighted image axial section showing a large lobulated well-defined mass in the midline pelvis with intermediate intensity solid areas, and multiple small black arrows show hypointense septations. These are the hypointense fibrovascular septations, and the hyperintense white areas in the right side of the lesion represents cystic bar necrotic areas within the dysgerminoma. The second image shows T1 fat saturated post contrast image showing homogeneous enhancement, nearly homogeneous enhancement of the solid component of the lesion, and the hypointense septations are not enhancing, and the cystic necrotic area in the right side is also not enhancing. So this non-enhancement of the cystic area represents necrosis. This is a case of dysgerminoma. Coming to last imaging modality, that is PET-CT, that is positron emission tomography with computed tomography. Here we use 18 FDG, that is fluorodeoxyglucose. We inject this agent into the patient's body and we take images. What are the advantages? It can be used as adjunct to CT and MRI study, like previously diagnosed ovarian tumors or uterine tumors. It can assess lymph node spread, and it can also assess metastasis to the distant organs like liver, lung, spine, etc. It is best used for treatment response and recurrence of the tumors. What are the main disadvantages? It's very costlier and there is lot of exposure to radiation. The image shows the primary tumor in the left ovary with multiple block dots within the liver. These are the metastatic lesions in the liver. On the figure right side shows increased uptake, that is reddish orange lesions in the liver, and the bilateral kidneys. This represents metastatic lesions. So to summarize, there are many imaging modalities in radiology to assess gynecological cancers. That is radiography, ultrasonography, computed tomography, MRI, and PET CT. So most limited role is radiography. As a screening investigation, we commonly do ultrasonography. For diagnosis, we use CT and MRI. MRI has better resolution compared to CT, but takes more time and it has few contraindications like can't be done in claustrophobics and pacemakers. Coming to PET CT, it's mainly to assess distant metastasis and to assess lymphatic spread and to assess recurrent tumors and treatment response of the primary tumor. Thank you.